Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Tom.
With Donovan, obviously during when springs are so important for quarterbacks, and he was busy trying to win a high school basketball state championship last year. When you get to him in the summer and now in the fall here, when it comes time to play on Saturday, what was the biggest concern? Just knowledge of the entire package to run, or just nerves in general?
I think when you're in the moment, you're not really thinking about your concern level. You're just trying to help him, try to put him in positions to be successful, call plays that he feels comfortable with and that he's repped in practice, and recognizing the quality of the competition that he's going against is a little bit different than the scout team, that he's been working against. So I think you're just trying to problem solve and help him. Certainly that, you go into the game knowing certain plays that he feels comfortable with. Obviously, he had a package of plays, ready for the game. But obviously, he played more snaps than probably he anticipated. And so you're just trying to put him in position to be successful, make sure that he feels comfortable, manage the elements, catch the snap, say the cadence properly, communicate the plays, just simple base things. And he had some good plays in the game, but certainly a lot of things that we need to help him with, coach him a little bit better, and get him better prepared, for whatever happens in the game for him.
So with that limited package of plays, as the score started to stretch out, as an offensive coordinator, do you start to think to yourself, oh, we're in trouble in trying to make a comeback here because what we need to do maybe it doesn't fit what he's comfortable with? What goes through your mind in that situation?
Yeah, we don't really sit there as coaches and say, man, we're in trouble. That's really not the mindset or mentality. I think at all points of the game, you're just trying to help the players, try to problem solve, try to put together plays that you feel like can be executed and help you move the ball and get first downs and score points. Just regardless of what the score is and what the situation is. Obviously certain moments in the game require maybe different types of plays relative to run, pass, et cetera. But ultimately, as a coach, you're evaluating who's available, who's up in the game, who's out there, and what things can they execute with confidence, throughout the course of the game. And that would be the same regardless, if an offensive lineman went down, if a wide receiver went down, running back, et cetera. You're evaluating who's available, who's out there, what plays can they execute, and because no two players are the same. And so that's really what your mindset is when you go throughout the game, regardless of what the score is or what the circumstances are.
Yeah, Coach, I think you mentioned last week that Donovan, certainly had potential throwing the football, but you were still kind of working with him. How do you get him more comfortable this week in the throw game?
I think repetitions, certainly the elements in the game on Saturday probably wasn't the easiest to handle relative to being a freshman quarterback out there. But, it's the same for both teams regardless. And, making sure that you're staying ahead of the chains. I think really when you look at after the first drive, when we went down there and scored, from that moment on, we were playing behind the sticks, whether it was a snap issue, we fell down, illegal procedure, those types of things. And so now you're backed up and you're in second and long, and those aren't, great situations to play quarterback, when you're behind the sticks. So making sure that you can stay ahead of the chains and operate some normal down and distance pass game as opposed to just a pure drop back game, which we found ourselves in, far too much after that first drive.
I guess just to kind of put in perspective just what Donovan's had to do. How different were the last 3 weeks to the first month when Michael was healthy, and how different does this week have to be from everything else he's experienced so far?
Yeah, I think, prior to Mike getting dinged up, Donovan was getting minimal reps, with us. He was there for certain periods to make sure that he was mentally sharp, and he would still get an occasional rep or two. He was back and forth between being up with us and being on scout team just so that he can continue to develop and play football. There were different portions of practice where he would be back and forth. with the hope that he just gets reps. You're not just out there observing the whole time in practice. So you manage that whenever you have a young quarterback. Our philosophy has always been, if you're a third-team QB, you're down on the scout team to just continue to play, to continue to get reps, even if it's of the opponent's scheme, curl flat, et cetera. So you want to make sure that they're getting reps. Since that time, obviously, he's been with us, and his reps have increased, throughout. And the balance has been, preparing him with his package of plays while trying to get the entire offense ready for the plays that they're going to be running. So you have to balance that with both the first and the second group. And obviously, depending on the availability of the guys in our room, that will alter, throughout the week as well. So a lot different, from 3 weeks ago. And, looking forward to him making progress each and every day.
Hey, Nick. How important is improved offensive line play the back half of the season here to get things going, and sort of evaluate sort of where do you think the offensive line's performance has been so far to date?
Yeah, I think I think everybody needs to elevate. Everybody needs to improve, coaches and players. I think the word consistency can get thrown around loosely, but it's true. I mean, we need to play more consistently. I thought there were moments in the game Saturday. I mean, we had good double teams. We had movement on down linemen. I mean, there were moments where we did a nice job. And then there were other moments where we didn't. We need to execute better. And that's at all positions. And so I think Saturday, after the first drive, the guys did a nice job. We had a scoring drive, went down and scored. From that moment on, if you really look back on the, we call them P and 10s, but the first play of the possession, it was just poor execution. I mean, we fell down on a naked, we dropped a snap, we had an illegal procedure. And so for all positions, it's tough sledding when you're playing 3rd and 12 the whole game. That's not fun to play offensive line or any position. And it's hard to be balanced and try to keep the defense, off balance. When they know you're going to throw the ball, you're in 3rd and 14, it's tough for everybody. But it certainly always starts up front. It always has, always will. I mean, you got to win the line of scrimmage, and the teams that do that consistently, most of the time they put their teams in a position to win. And our guys know that. They understand the challenge. Other positions got to elevate and execute better. Sometimes in the run game, it's not just the guys that are blocking. It's the people running it. It's the decisions from the quarterbacks. It's the play call. It's very easy to point to the offensive line when there are struggles, and sometimes they need to do better, but there's other times other positions need to execute better as well, whether it's the tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks. So it's a collective effort, but I think everybody needs to play better. I think that's pretty clear, and everybody needs to improve and focus on that improvement. I know our guys are excited about that and the opportunity and the challenge that lies ahead.
It's kind of a follow-up on that. With the offensive line having their struggles this year and affecting what you're trying to do, what adjustments can be made and what adjustments have to be made in this back half of the season, whether it's maybe more up-tempo on the offense or whatever you can do within those confines?
I think that's a fair question. I think there's always, there's a fine line between completely changing what you're doing, because obviously you're not going to improve at anything if you're just running new plays, new schemes each and every week. It's hard for guys to improve at anything. I mean, at the same time, you got to evaluate if what you're doing they're capable of executing. So I think that conversation is always had, not just for the linemen but for the whole offense. I think the best way to improve at something is to do it over and over again. But at some point as a coach, you got to make a decision, is can we do this? It doesn't matter. We could do this 1,000 times, but if we can't execute it, it won't matter. So, I think those alterations, whether it's tempo, scheme, formations, techniques, certain directions you're running the runs, passes, et cetera, you put all those things into evaluation. And yet each opponent's a little bit different as well. No two defenses are the same. So sometimes issues arise in a game. You make those corrections, but they won't show up the rest of the year because you're not going to face that front or that type of player or whatever it may be. So those conversations are had each and every week, and I think that's a fair point and a fair question.
Nick, I know a lot's been made of the schedule thus far and the quality of the defenses that you've played and such, but with those struggles, obviously with the quarterback situation and offensive line issues, are there times during the course of the game where you find yourself thinking, I would like to call this play right now, but I don't think we can block it. I better go to something else?
First off, we don't make any excuses for the quality of. I mean, we've always played quality opponents. Our schedule. We've been in the Big Ten East my entire time here. This is what you come to a place like Indiana for, and this is what you sign up for, and you enjoy and embrace the competition. So we certainly don't make any excuses about who we've played. Relative to the selection of the plays, kind of to the question earlier, I think you're always evaluating that. You go into a game always optimistic, always encouraged, always excited about, allowing your guys to go out there and execute what you've practiced. And then there are times in the game where you have to reevaluate, based on the execution or, how the play is going. But Saturday certainly was unique. You got a true freshman quarterback out there for his first time. Were there times in the game where you felt, that you had to call other plays than maybe what the majority of the group had practiced throughout the week? Certainly. But we don't make any excuses for that. We still can catch a snap or not fall down or line up properly. That has nothing to do with who's in the game, and those are the type of errors that you look at as a coach, and it can't happen. You can't do those types of things. So, I think you're always evaluating that. You're always optimistic and encouraged and excited about the opportunity to compete. And I know the players feel that way. And then when you get into the game, whether good or bad, you make adjustments accordingly.
Coach, Tom Allen made mention of it, but Grant Gremel seems probably going to get some first-team reps this week as well. How do you envision him working into the offense? And will he kind of be splitting time with Donovan? Maybe Donovan taking running downs, Grant taking passing, or is it going to be more of Donovan's show and Grant's just there to be his backup? Yeah,
without letting Maryland know exactly the rotation at quarterback, we got to get everybody ready to play. That's everybody that's available and healthy. We got to get them ready to play, and you try to put those players in the best positions to be successful based on what they feel comfortable executing, what their different skills are, different talents are, because like, we mentioned before, no two quarterbacks are the same. So Grant's been here a long time. He understands our system, the communication, both in the run and in the pass. And certainly Donovan hasn't been here as long. And so you balance that. And that's the challenge is, getting everybody that's available ready to play, having enough variety of scheme, enough creativity to put those guys in good positions, whether it's a quarterback or another position. So, that's part of playing quarterback. When you're not the starting quarterback, regardless of, what your skill level is, what your experience is, it doesn't matter. You have to be prepared to play without a ton of reps. That's the nature of the position. So, typically in the course of a week, you get two guys a good chunk of the reps. The one reps are more than the twos, and the threes are very few. There's just not enough time in practice to efficiently and effectively rep three quarterbacks. So regardless of who's available, we got to get them all ready to play. And guys, need to be prepared and take advantage of their opportunities, and we have full confidence in those guys to do that. Okay, thanks, guys.